What's up, everybody? Let's start with something that might sound controversial. A lot of insurance restoration contractors are full of it. And what I mean by that is this. Most of them don't actually have a sales process. They have a storm process. Yay. They have a pressure process. Now, they're hustlers. I have a huge respect for door knockers who are just relentless, but most of them have a manipulation process where they're trying to create the activity that doesn't really exist. They don't have a repeatable long-term sales system that actually creates stability. That's why the stats don't lie. Almost all of them, super high 90 percentile, don't last. We'll do this before anyone gets defensive. Let me say this clearly. This is not anti-insurance. Insurance work built a lot of this industry. There's all kinds of numbers all over there, 20, 40, 60. Insurance work is absolutely profitable if done correctly. Insurance work can absolutely be part of your business. It should be. It was part of my business. But if insurance is your only strategy, you don't control your future. This entire series has been about one thing. It's about how to hit your first $1 million in gross profit, not revenue, profit. How can you do that predictably when you're relying on a storm? You can't. You cannot do it. You must be growing. If you hit $1 million this year in profit, you must be growing to the next level the next year. So at this stage in the series, we have to talk about control because profit comes from control and clarity. Insurance work feels good when storms hit. My best day ever when I was a one-man show, $487,000 in 2 days. I sold that by myself in one neighborhood. The phones are ringing, leads are everywhere, crews are busy. That sounds great. $487,000 in one neighborhood. Great. Revenue is exploding. Awesome. It's not predictable. Had nothing to do with the next year. A lot of contractors think that means that they have a great business. It does not. A business is not about 1 or 2 years. This is about 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Storms are not a business model. Storms are an event. They can be predictable in certain parts of the country, but it's not a great way to have the foundation of your business. Here's the shift that's happening right now in roofing. Carriers are tightening. We all know this. Deductibles are enforced more often, and they're also increasing. Approvals are taking longer, and then your margins are obviously getting squeezed at that point. So contractors who only know how to sell insurance work are starting to feel the pressure, as they should. It's my belief that they should. Insurance used to be easy growth. Pretty clear cut, get on the roof, mark it up, go for it. Now it's really unpredictable. Even trusted carriers are now unpredictable. Unpredictability is dangerous when you're trying to build a real company. Let's talk about the difference between insurance and retail. That's this whole episode. The insurance model, you're waiting on approvals. You're trying to walk this through the process and push yourself into this situation to get paid. You're dealing with supplements and supplementers. You're working on someone else's timeline. There's another party involved in the situation. It's not you and the homeowner. It's you and the homeowner and the insurance carrier. A lot of the time, someone else controls your profit. That's the insurance model. Retail model. Clear pricing. Clear expectations. Way faster cash cycle. We know this. You do the job, you get paid. You control the process. You control that relationship, which is it should be the most important part. You're there. You're in that community. You're building a business. You control the relationship. You control your profit margin. But here's the line I want you to remember. Retail is control. Insurance is dependency. Bottom line. I don't care how successful you are in the insurance world. You're dependent on insurance. Now, I know some people are thinking retail is harder. Homeowners won't pay. Okay. You're not providing enough value. My reps can't sell retail. Well, they're not providing enough value. Let's be honest about what that really means. Retail exposes weak sales systems. And that's why this episode comes after the others. Episode 1 was brand and trust. Episode 2 was speed to lead, continuing that customer experience. Episode 3, sales follow-up. Do you have a sales follow-up process? Most people in the insurance space have no idea what I'm even talking about then, or they just never do it. Episode 4, do you have operational discipline to actually protect the profit? Are you thinking about that after the sale? This is episode 5. If your brand is strong, retail gets easier. If your speed is strong, retail gets easier. If your sales follow-up is strong, retail gets easier. If your operations are disciplined, retail becomes very profitable. The companies struggling with retail usually don't have a retail problem. They have a process problem. They don't want to work on it. They just want to send people out in the world and go, we can ride along for your first 10 deals. Great. That's not a process. That's selling something that you're dependent on. Let me say something else that might sound super blunt. Insurance sales often hide weak sales reps because the claim does a lot of the work for them. They have to have a small set of skills to go make that happen. Retail reveals whether you actually know how to sell value. It's not about pressure. Retail sales are about certainty, education, professionalism. Do you have a huge jacked up truck for no reason? Just an example. Helping the homeowners understand what they're buying. They're buying it. A third party's not paying for it. The best retail sales reps don't push harder. They explain better. They guide better. They create real confidence. Here's where I want to be balanced. The best companies don't choose one or the other. I've seen thousands of companies over the past decade. They run a hybrid model. And this depends on where you live in the country. My first location had almost zero insurance.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Before we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow.
Now, ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
A very small percentage, that hybrid model. Other location had majority insurance. Insurance creates opportunity. Retail creates stability. Insurance can spike revenue. Retail builds predictable profit. Storms should be a bonus. You should be viewing it that way. Storms are a bonus. But they're not your business plan. You need to be prepared for that. They should not be your entire business plan. Let's talk about what retail winners actually do differently. They present financing early, and they know how to sell financing. They make pricing extremely clear with an amazing proposal that tells the customer story, problem, solution, customer, not product, solution, customer story. They educate instead of pressure. They have a repeatable inspection process. They set expectations clearly from day one. Most importantly, they believe in the value they provide. Why are we selling for X profit margin? What they understand because they believe the value. Homeowners will pay for certainty. I saw it for years for myself. Again, most expensive or one of the most expensive in both of my markets. They will pay for professionalism. They will pay for a company they trust. We've already talked about that in this entire series. Here's the long-term advantage of retail. Predictable revenue. You get to hire better. You get people coming to you. Again, my hires were coming to me. I didn't have to go out and find them. You get better planning. You get less seasonality because you're not waiting for storm season. Obviously, you get less panic when storms don't come. That's how real companies are built. There's a lot of PE and stuff going on. This is a side note that are buying up these storm restoration contractor companies, and they're huge. That is going to fail. The majority of them have failed. Only the people at the top won. People down in middle management and the sales reps, I've watched them personally leave. Here's something that I've learned. When your business depends entirely on storms, you're always reacting. When your business includes strong retail sales, you start leading instead of reacting. That changes everything. So let's recap the big idea. Insurance is not bad, but dependency is dangerous for any business. Retail gives you control. You need control to grow profitably. Control protects profit, and profit creates freedom because you have all that less stress because you have the control. So now we're heading to the final episode of the series, because once you have your brand, your speed to lead, your sales systems, your operations are on point, and now you have a stable revenue strategy, there's one multiplier left. It's leadership, talent, people. It's a people business. It's not a roofing business. The next episode, we finish this series talking about leadership and talent, and how do you attract the best people for your business. The systems don't scale without the right people running them. If you remember one thing from today, remember this. Storms can build momentum, but retail builds longevity. I'll see you in the next episode.